Hello and welcome back to my channel and to today's video where, despite being a little bit bunged up, I'm going to be sharing an updated bag collection with you all. Because if you watched my most recent wardrobe switchover video, I mentioned that I'd culled a lot of bags from my collection, all of which have yet to be sold. And if that's something that you're interested in, I will leave a link down below, or a couple of links down below, to the places where I sell on my unwanted items. And I suppose that this sparked a little bit of curiosity as to the bags that I have left in my collection in comparison to my previous bag collection videos, which have always been quite hefty. Now, before I get started, I will just mention that all of my summer bags have gone into storage, so they won't be featuring in this video. But to be honest with you, these are very seasonal items. It's just basket bags, canvas bags, in a mix of luxury and high street. So you're not really missing much. The bags you will see today are the ones that just constantly stay in my wardrobe all year round. So I'm going to start off with the Longchamp large La Pliage tote bags, of which I have two of. One in the colour paper, and then I also have one in navy. Now, these two bags were bags which I added to my collection only this year, back in the summer months. Admittedly, very late to the Longchamp party, decades in fact, but now that I am here, I love it. Now, I did only recently make a full bag review of these two bags along with the travel version that I also have. So I'm not going to go into too much detail in this video because you guys can go and watch that video if you want to hear all my pros, cons, thoughts, all of that gubbins. But just to summarise, they are lightweight, they are practical, they fold up into this little sort of parcel size, so they're great for just general storage and great for travel. They are durable and, in my personal opinion, and many others as well, because this is an incredibly popular bag, even not just in this size, but this La Pliage collection in general. I think they look good. They're very classic, very minimal, but also European and very chic. Next up is a little Arquette brown leather mini bag. I don't know if that's the official name of it. This is another bag which is new to my collection. This was new earlier on this season actually, so very new. So that means it is still available to buy, so I will link it down below in the description box. This particular style of bag is very popular at Arquette. They have a few different colourways, different fabrics. I know there's some suede options and some different sizes as well. So there's quite a large tote bag that this also comes in. I'm just not sure if it comes in this beautiful sort of autumnal brown colour. Now, Arquette, along with COS and Massimo Dutti, are brands that I often talk about with regards to if you don't have the budget to spend on luxury leather goods. So both their shoes, accessories and bags, they are all such excellent quality. So they're brands that I often reference to you guys if you're looking to buy a super, I don't know, maybe not premium, but a very well made and long lasting piece, but you don't quite have the luxury, or sorry, you don't quite have the budget for luxury, whether that be new or pre-loved. And so therefore these are also really good brands to look for on the pre-loved market as well, because then you might really bag a bargain. So it does have an adjustable sort of handheld handle. As you can see here, it's got this leather wrapped buckle and it's got 3 notches on there so that you can adjust the length of that. And then it also has, if I just pull this out, an adjustable and detachable shoulder strap, which can be worn cross body. Now, I've been using this quite a lot recently just because I think it's a really good size for the sort of items that I've been carrying around. It's also a very nice autumnal colour for this time of year, with it being this nice dark chocolatey brown, so that's why it's been a bit of a go-to of mine recently. But otherwise, it's a really substantial bag. It's got a nice, it's a smooth leather, but it's a very structured leather. So as you see it here, it doesn't have any padding inside. It holds its shape really well. She is back. She recently started her comeback tour in my What I Wore in a Week video. It is Judith, my Loewe puzzle bag. So this is actually my longest standing bag in my collection. I bought this, I can't actually remember, I'd have to consult Instagram, as that's how I date anything these days. But I think I bought this either in 2016 or 2017. So she's been around for a good few years now. I've just noticed that she does have a couple of scuffs on the top, and that's probably either been from jewellery or a watch, as I've been going like that across the top. But otherwise, I was inspecting this bag the other day and she still looks as good as new. Now this is the small size, but the puzzles do come in multiple sizes, and it's also a classic design, so it's one that they've brought out for years and they just repeat it season after season after season. They'll come out with different fabrics, different colorways, but this is actually one of the core. So along with black and I think navy, the tan is just one of those which is a constant within the brand and within their collections. Now, as I said, I've barely got any wear to this at all, and whilst I've probably found that I haven't worn this a lot since we moved into this house, but prior to that, this was one of my most worn bags. There was a case where I think for about 2 years, I used this bag pretty much every day. And for it to have held up after that much wear, especially that much wear in London, where things are just grubby, I think really is a testament to the way that it's made and to the fabrics used. Next is my Seline Sangle. Now, I forgot to mention with regards to the Loewe puzzle, that was a bag that I bought new. This was a bag that I bought pre-loved. And to be honest with you, when I'm looking at luxury goods, which I don't do so much now, I think my priorities have just changed. But when I'm looking at luxury goods, if there's something specific in my head that I really, really want, I do tend to look on the pre-loved market. I think it is just the way to go. Unless there's something that you're looking for, which is a current item and it just sells out really quickly. And even then, I would say still look on the pre-loved market, although someone's probably going to try and upsell it. I just think pre-loved is the way to go. I saved about £1,200 on this particular bag. I think it was there or thereabouts. This is the large size Seau Sangle. The way you can tell the difference is the large has all of these pockets on the outside. They go all the way around the bag. Can't say I've ever used these pockets, but for me personally, I just preferred this larger size. And this is the black calfskin leather. So if we do some close-ups, you will see that it's not super smooth. It does have a texture to it. And I think that adds to the durability and just the overall look of the bag in terms of it never looks old. Because if you get a little scuff or scratch, it's disguised by the texture of the leather. Next is the everyday shoulder bag by The Row. This was another pre-loved purchase, and I think this was from 2022. I don't think it was last year. I think this was 2022. And again, I saved probably about half of the retail price when buying this pre-loved. And I actually bought it in really, really good condition. So there wasn't anything wrong with it. No scuffs or scratches or marks. I think it had just been used maybe a couple of times. An unwanted gift, I believe. Now, this bag I haven't actually used this season yet. I've been reaching more for my Seline Sangle. However, I know that this is a bag that I've got lots of use out of in previous seasons, and sometimes it's just whatever I feel like using on the day. And whilst I haven't worn this bag yet this season, it's still one that I'm happy to have in my collection and that I don't want to part with. It's really beautifully made, very functional, roomy inside, very minimal branding, especially for such a luxury brand, because they're very expensive, The Row. And it's also a very secure bag because it has a full zip as well. Staying with The Row, and this is the Slouchy banana bag in the largest size. Now this one I bought, I think this was last year, but then again it could have also been 2022. Either way, it's in the last couple of years that I bought this, and I did begrudgingly buy this new. I had this bag on my wish list for so long, And it's one of those things which, because it cost an awful lot of money, but I didn't pay full price, I'll get onto that in a minute. It's one of those bags that because it cost an awful lot of money, I really wanted to get it pre-loved. But unfortunately, because it was a very popular sort of cult bag, people that were selling it pre-loved were selling it for actually more than what it retailed for, because it kept selling out in the retail market. So it eventually came back in stock, and then I believe it was a Black Friday discount that I had where I got 20% off. And when 20% off something of this value is a good few £100s. So I did get it at a slightly discounted rate. However, I would have preferred to have bought this bag pre-loved. And if I had to spend the amount of money that I spent on this bag again now, being in the mindset that I'm in now, I don't think I would. And don't get me wrong, I love this bag. There is no chance of me selling it anytime soon. It is another very frequently worn bag, especially just because it's so practical. It's this really nice sort of cocoon, like a crossbody, but without it being a small crossbody. And I just really get on with this bag. I use it so much. There's definitely no chance of me getting rid of it. But I think there are a few high street brands that are really good at coming out with very similar styles to the Row and to this style of bag in general. COS being the main one, they are so good at sort of recreating that the Row vibe and a lot of their pieces, but at a cost price, which I know COS is still quite a higher price point for a high street brand. But in comparison to the Row, it's a bargain, really. Okay, next up is the Celine Tri-Fold. Now, I have such a weakness for the Phoebe era of Celine. Anything she touched with regards to Celine during her tenure there was just, She just knew how to create classic, wearable, but very minimal and just chic items, regardless of what it was, whether it was a dress, jumper. I think those things are still very much lingering now, and I think she was the person that really set the precedent for that kind of style. And that kind of style is still something that I enjoy, that I wear, and that I look for when I'm adding items to my wardrobe. Now, granted, this is actually a bag that I sometimes forget about. Because of the shape of it, it actually goes towards the back of my bag cupboard. So if you've seen any of my wardrobe switchover videos, you know how I store my bags, and that's where it lives. So sometimes, and I also keep all bags in their dust bags so that they can just stay nice and fresh. So sometimes when I open my bag cupboards, even though I don't have half as many bags as what I used to, I can't quite see them as well, because this one has to go flat and it's covered by other bags. So it is one that I sometimes forget, but every time I get this bag out, I just think, I love this bag so much. And I'm so happy that I sort of maintained my search for this bag on pre-loved markets and that I eventually found it. Patience is a virtue, and it paid off in this case. This is a bag that by no means will ever be going out of my collection. I just know that this one is a forever bag, as is this one. This is the Seline Classic bag in Leige leather. Now, this was another bag that I bought pre-loved. I actually was searching for this bag, I think, for around about 8 years, and looking for it in this very specific colourway and in Leige leather. And Leige leather basically means that it's got this texture to it that almost runs like horizontally. So it's these little sort of textured lines. And this type of leather is very difficult to find. So this is another crossbody style, although the strap is adjustable, so it can be worn as a shoulder bag as well, whether shorter or longer, and you can adjust it as a crossbody to have it wherever you want it as well. It's not particularly roomy inside because this leather is very, very structured, and if I just turn it to the side, you'll see that the depth isn't particularly generous. So in terms of fitting things inside, this is a bag that I would tend to use if A, I needed to be hands-free in the same way as my Loewe puzzle and the little Arquette bag. It's very practical if you're going out and about. You're maybe going to have a coffee in one hand, using the other hand for something else, being on your phone, whatever. Very practical in that sense. However, it just doesn't fit a great deal in there. That central compartment is quite small, so it's not the kind of bag that you can stuff like additional things in there. You can like take out a beanie and gloves and try and shovel them in there along with all the other bits that you want to take out with you. So on a travel light day, yes, but on a travel heavy day, no. Right, my next bag is the Arquette Cresant bag. This was another new addition which I picked up earlier this season. It's a little bit flat. I probably need to pad this out a little bit, but you may have seen this in a what's new in my wardrobe video. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been the transitional one. But this is a beautiful bag. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but Arquette's one of those brands, along with COS and Massimo Dutti. They just make really beautiful leather bags. And if you can't afford luxury, either pre-loved or new, it's such a good brand, and I would highly recommend looking at them for good quality bags. What I like about Arquette, and definitely COS in particular, is that they're so minimal. If I just turn this round, just like the little brown bag, the crossbody, there is a tiny little stamped Arquette logo down at the bottom, but otherwise it's just so minimal. There's no crazy seams everywhere, no bells and whistles, no jangly hardware, just super, super clean and minimal. Now, a downside of this bag is that it does just have a popper closure, so whilst I really like the style of it, it might not be incredibly practical for anyone, again, living in a city, heavily populated area. And another downside is that whilst it might seem like a large bag, just the shape of it and the way that it doesn't have, so basically front and back seams, or front and back panels are attached together. It doesn't have a middle section to give it any depth. So you can't actually put a lot in this bag without completely distorting the shape of it. Next is the Classic bag from the Curated, which looks very, very similar and definitely has been inspired by the Classic bag from Celine. However, you'll notice this one is, rather than being a bit more boxy and square, this one is a bit more rectangular, but otherwise it has a lot of the same elements. A very similar clasp in this sort of very minimal brushed gold clasp, and also the structured leather. So the same thing applies with regards to how much you can fit in there. It does feel slightly bigger, so I feel like I can fit just a little bit more in there, but still not an incredibly roomy bag. Now this is also a crossbody. It comes with two different straps which you can remove both of. So you could also use it if you removed both straps. You could also use it, I'm just going to tuck that there like that, as a clutch as well. And because it has this more rectangular shape, it works better as a clutch. Now this bag doesn't get a lot of like everyday use, but it is nice to have something that almost feels a little bit dressier for when I need something a bit smarter. By no means do I ever do, you know, a ball gown level of dressiness. Like if that situation ever arose, I would just decline the invitation. But it is nice to have something that does feel a little bit more elevated. Next up is this bag from Ralph Lauren. This is very similar. I know it's not identical in style, but I put it in the same sort of category as the Longchamp tote bags. And that's because it is a very similar sort of canvas fabric. So it's durable, easy to clean, very, very lightweight. And then it has the leather straps and gold hardware as well, which, as I mentioned, I do very much appreciate. Now, this was a bag that I did buy earlier on this year, I think back in spring, and it was a bag that I was going to pack away with the rest of my summer bags. However, because of the colour, it's kind of like a khaki, darker beigey, slightly green colour. I thought it would probably work for autumn winter time because it's not super light. So I thought, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to keep it out and I'm going to see if it will be a bag that I will use. I have yet to use it this season. However, I'm still quite happy that I kept it out. I think it could very well be one of those bags that I do use throughout the next couple of seasons. It's very practical, as I mentioned, lightweight, durable, etc. But it also has this full zip closure as well. So that means it is nice and secure. I do mention security a lot, and I think that's just because I've done 10 years living in London. So that was always one thing that I had to think about. Living here in the countryside, we do not have to think about that at all. But I think it's just one of those things that's been ingrained in my mind. And I know there'll be lots of you guys that live in more of a city setting as well. So it's something that I like to mention. But yes, good all-rounder bag, just not sure on how much I'm going to use it, but hopefully I will. And finally, I have the viral Uniqlo bag. So this little bag, I can't even remember how much this cost. I think it was like £12 maybe. So this is one of the classic nylon ones. It's in sort of like a sandy khaki colour, and it's in the original size. This bag is not a bag that I tend to use for like day-to-day wear, because I just prefer using some of my more premium bags, and I do prefer leather or one of my Longchamp bags. However, this bag has been incredibly valuable. As many of you will know, I like to go on my little Disney trips, and this has been such a good bag. When I don't want to wear a lounge fly, this has been a really valuable bag to have. It's the perfect size for going to a theme park for a day. It's also this nylon fabric, so you can just bung it in the wash when you get back and it comes out as good as new. They come in so many different colours. Black would probably be a more practical colour than this in terms of like showing dirt more, and maybe against like denim transfer, but otherwise really good little bag, especially for the purpose in which I need it for. Right, now you are all caught up on my current bag collection. If you would like to see a video on the bags that I culled and why I culled them, then let me know down in the comments below, and that is something that I can look to film maybe toward the end of this year, but certainly throughout the month of January, because we're still kind of planning January's content. If you've got any more questions about any of these bags that you've seen in today's video, please also feel free to leave those questions down in the comments. But just one final reminder that I do have thorough bag reviews for most of the bags that you will have seen in today's video. So I will again leave links to all of those in the description box. All that's left for me to say now before I go and load myself up with some fluids is thank you as always for watching, and I will see you next time.